another cautiously optimistic start, another sour finish, another Titans loss, another Tennessee Pro Football podcast. Host Blaine Kellar, producer Mark Rogers, and the Titan Insider Terry McCormick joining you once again. The Titans fell 38-14 at Indianapolis on Sunday. It was promising at points, Terry, especially in the first half, 10-7. But similar to Mike McCoy's debut 2 weeks ago as interim coach against the New England Patriots, things just kind of got away from him. The Colts scored 28 of the last 35 points. The Titans got a garbage time touchdown to lead the final to be 38-14.
Yeah, Blaine, it's more of the same for this team. I mean, they are on a path to be perhaps the worst team in franchise history. They're already the worst team in Titans history if they continue to hold serve through the rest of the season like this. But they are on pace to maybe be the worst team in the history of the franchise, which goes for 66 years. When you look at what they're doing per game, they're averaging 13.75 points per game, which is the lowest in the franchise's history. They are giving up 29.75 points per game, which is, I believe, the third or fourth worst in franchise history. But given a 17-game season, they're on pace to give up a mind-boggling 489 points, which would be the most that they've ever given up. So it's all is gloomy here in Titans land, not just the weather outside here in Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, even extending to McCoy and that interim coaching staff that took over 2 weeks ago for Brian Callahan. It's bad whenever you've got folks on social media tweeting out, can we fire the interim coach? We're getting into that on the other side of the break.
What happened there is everybody's up in arms, and they saw Cam Ward's reaction. When you're there, when you're trailing 17-7, you are in plus territory at the Colts 42. You have 2nd and 3. You have 3rd and 3, and you run Tony Pollard for 0 yards, makes it 4th and 3. So you could run Joey Sly out there and try a 59, 60-yard field goal. He missed from 58 yards in the first half, but he missed because the kick didn't draw. It was long enough. It was just wide right. So you could attempt to do that. Or you could leave the offense out there and say, hey, Cam Ward, receivers, pick up 3 yards, make a play for us. When you're 1-6 going into the game and you have the worst offense in the league and you have one of the worst defenses in the league, why are you playing so darn conservative there? I mean, come on. That's, they're Ron Paul conservative there, Blaine. You got to do better than that. Got to do better than that when you're 1-6 and going nowhere. You got to take a chance or two with a young team that's outmatched, outclassed talent-wise, and is just getting chewed up by the Colts offense up and down the field. And, of course, the punt goes into the end zone, so it's a net of 22 yards. And then the first play after that, Jonathan Taylor takes it 80 yards to the house, game over. So you essentially, by being too afraid to take a chance in plus territory with a bad team, hoping to find a spark, you essentially, in a span of 2 plays, gave the game away.
There's more that I want to get on about the coaching staff and their decision-making, especially at the end of the game on the other side of this break. But before we hit that, let me tell you about our sponsor, the Mint Gaming Hall. Circus Sports, the largest sports book in Kentucky, is now open for business at the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. An 80-foot sportsbook screen and stadium-style seating. The Mint's the place to be to watch the NFL, to watch the World Series, which is going on currently, and any and all other sporting event. The Mint and Circus Sports, again, are proud sponsors of our show. You're watching the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast on Main Street Media Television.
The winning just got closer. All new sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer. At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Picking up where we left off on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast, Blaine Kellar and Titan Insider Terry McCormick here. We were talking a little bit of Mike McCoy's decision-making and, of course, Cam Ward's reaction with that, saying why not go on 4th and 3 in a pivotal point of the game that it turned out to be, instead punting and that turning into the deciding Jonathan Taylor touchdown that allowed the Colts to run away from it. Thought the last few possessions were interesting too, Terry. Talking 2:40 left in the game. Tajay Spears gets that garbage time touchdown. Of course, good for him. Fine for the Titans. The game's already decided, though. They decide not to go for an onside kick. Don't declare it. Of course, the odds are very low this year, but they kick it downfield on the ensuing kickoff. Then they don't call timeouts defensively. So you keep all 3 timeouts as the Colts run out the clock with backup quarterback Riley Leonard. Then after that, when you finally get the ball with some change left after the 2-minute warning, 2 Julius Chestnut runs bleed out the clock and finish the game. I know nothing would really happen in that scenario, but I'm just curious for a 1-7 team, who does that all benefit? To not call a timeout, to not try an onside kick, to not try to push down the field one more time when the game's already decided.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying there. I mean, at that point, it was probably a moot point to, 38-21 looks a little better than 38-14.
But it's, a young team.
Sure.
This team needs to see some sort of confidence. Mike McCoy probably needs to see something work here in the second half of a game, right?
No, I don't disagree with you. I think, go down swinging. There's no point in just throwing in the towel there like that. But, but it was typical of the way that it's gone, in the last couple of weeks under McCoy. You remember against the Patriots, there was the lack of using that final 49 seconds of the half with 3 timeouts from their own, I think it was 35-yard line, where they needed about 25 to 30 yards maybe to get in Joey Sly's range, and decided not to, citing the wind. And then yesterday, the decision to punt, you're just being way too conservative. You're just kind of throwing in the towel. But, it's one of those things where I think you're right. Anything positive is something that you're looking for. You're grasping at straws with this team, trying to find something good because there's so little of it. And then when you throw in the fact that you're without Jeffrey Simmons, that you're without Calvin Ridley, and that you're without Arden Key and L'Jarius Sneed, you're already handicapped to a certain degree in terms of what you can do. And then when, you come out and you lay an egg like that, and then you just kind of fold the tent, it sends the message to the team that they can't compete. Now, I fully agree. They can't compete, but that shouldn't stop you from trying.
It just felt like the Titans coaching, I mean, it's just reflective on the players a little bit when you quit like that. And I know that's a big word to throw around in NFL circles, but when you have 2:40 left and you could at least try an onside kick, if you, like, theoretically, let's say the Colts recover it, because the statistics say that would probably happen. The Colts are still going to run 3 runs and punt it. Yes. Because it's at midfield. So it makes no difference whether that ball's at the 20, 30-yard line compared to the 40, 50-yard line when the game's already decided. It benefits you field position-wise. I don't understand why the Titans coaches didn't think to at least give their team one more chance. I know garbage time has been something that the Titans have succeeded a lot at this year. They've gotten a lot of their scores late in games that have been decided. But that has to account for something at this point of the year when nothing else is going right.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, because last year, late in games, they got way behind against, I think it was the Chargers and the Commanders. But in both of those games, there at the end, there was still, Will Levis slinging it around, trying to make something happen. So I don't know why you wouldn't afford Cam Ward the same opportunity to make something happen, because, even if you score the touchdown and it ends up 38-21, at least you got 14 fourth quarter points, and you go, hey, yes, it's garbage time, but hey, it's something that Cam is now experienced, he's been through, and he's in a situation where he can maybe learn from it and go forward the next time and utilize it again to his benefit.
I'd like to see more of that from the Titans going forward. If there's any sort of sign of improvement, you want to see the effort there all the way through, especially for Ward. He's been concerning at times because the Titans have been bad around him. But how much worse, Terry, would this team be off if they didn't have those garbage time drives, those confidence-building, quote-unquote, series at the ends of games where they're able to see a little bit of success? I mean, I think that has to play a factor in it, too, that at least those players can see something working at the end of a game and try to carry that into the next week.
Yeah, and in the locker room yesterday, I'm just gonna be honest with you, it was like a morgue in there. It was like attending a funeral. There were guys who were frustrated. Some guys just didn't even say anything. I went up to Peter Skoronski, was about to start my interview with him, and I just kind of shook my head and sighed. And he goes, that just kind of says it all right there. What you just did, that's just typical of what's going on inside this locker room. You've got guys who, are in situations. Some of them have never been in situations like this, or it's been a long time. Quandre Diggs yesterday, he's like, hey, this is not how I, learned how to play in the NFL. He said there were some lean years when he was early in his career with the Lions when they were not good. But most of his career was spent with Seattle and Dallas, who were competent teams. The Seahawks backed a very good team at times in his career. And he said, I'm just trying to do my best just to, be a good teammate. At this point, the players are just trying to keep their heads above water, both on the field and with the mental approach. And anything positive you can throw out there that goes their way, I think, they would seize upon it, because right now there's not much going on that's good with this football team.
it just expands beyond, it starts in that locker room, starts on the field, and it expands throughout. You and I were talking before the Patriots game a few weeks ago, and it felt like late December. It felt like January with the season near its end. Not like there's a bye week and, 7-8 games still to come.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the halfway point of the season. They played 8, they got 9 left plus a bye week. So at the halfway point of the season, and this thing is already just, probably the worst experience that a lot of these guys have had in their football careers. Now, I will say there are a couple of things that maybe you can look at and point to as positive. I thought Tajay Spears getting more run than Tony Pollard was probably a positive. I think Tajay Spears brings a little bit of a spark that Pollard's not necessarily bringing right now. Chimdike looked pretty good for the second week in a row. I think that he is, somebody that certainly has some playmaking skills because he's got some speed. And then obviously everything is all about Cam Ward. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Cam Ward is having a good year. I don't think he's as far along as you would hope a rookie quarterback would be. But
the number one quarterback for sure.
Right. But yesterday, I thought he played more even than he had all season. You saw 4 quarters of somewhat the same level of football and some competence. He missed a couple of throws. He was careless with the ball a time or two. I don't really fault the interception because 4th and goal to 16, he's got to heave it into the end zone, hoping somebody makes a play. Nobody did. On the long pass early in the game to Alec Iamaner, some people said Iamaner slowed down on the route. I saw it that Cam really overthrew him because he put too much on the ball. It was too much on a line as opposed to having more arc so that Iamaner could have a chance to run up under it. And, there's still mistakes like that are happening. There was a batted pass that probably could have been picked off at the line of scrimmage that wasn't. There's still mistakes like that. But overall, I saw better and more consistent play from Cam Ward probably than I've seen at any point this season. So if you're looking for glimmers of hope, maybe that's it. Maybe he's starting to get a little more comfortable even in the midst of everything else collapsing around him.
If Mike McCoy's done one thing kind of well through 2 games, I think it's that he's gotten a lot of these young players involved. Chimdike has been incredibly highly involved, way more than what he was in the offense before McCoy took over. Of course, Alec Iamaner has been a mainstay in the lineup because of kind of the pieces around him. You mentioned Tajay Spears, still a young player, and his involvement in the running back room now. It's easy to say this, and I think Titans coaches obviously have this same thought. But if you could get all these young pieces to play well all at once, Alec Iamaner had a couple of good weeks. Chimdike now has had a couple of good weeks. Tajay Spears had a good game. Gunnar Helm had a touchdown this past week. If you could get all of these guys with Cam Ward to play well at the same time, then you're starting to see a glimmer. Then you're starting to have some hope. Then maybe you could put a game together and be competitive for 3 quarters instead of 2.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And don't forget, over on the defensive side, Cedric Gray's having a really good year at one of those inside linebacker spots. And he didn't really get a whole lot of help on defense yesterday. The secondary got cooked pretty good on some big plays by the Colts. The run defense was basically atrocious because Jonathan Taylor had 153 yards on 12 carries. So, I mean, come on. Taylor has 14 touchdowns this year. 6 of them are against the Titans.
Wow.
He has 14 touchdowns this year. The Titans only have 9 touchdowns this year. I mean,
wow.
I mean, that's where this thing is. You want to see how far you are from being competitive. Yesterday showed you exactly how far you are from being competitive. In 2 games against the Colts, who have not only the best record in your division, but the best record in the league, you've been outscored 79-34.
Yeah, and you talk about how low it gets. I saw your tweet this morning. The Titans open as 8.5-point underdogs at home to the Chargers on Sunday. I don't know the last time I've seen that.
On one level, that's shocking and disturbing that someone should be an 8.5-point dog in their own building. On the other hand, it's been a year since they've won a game at Nissan Stadium. So why wouldn't I expect them to be a huge underdog when the Chargers come in? I mean, look, this is a team that they may not get the number one pick because the Jets and the Saints are also atrocious, but they need the number one pick and the number two pick, if that's possible.
We're going to take one more break here on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. When we come back, give some middling stocks, some lowering stocks, try to salvage some tanking ones. You're watching the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast on Mainstream Media Television.
The winning just got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer. He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Hi, I'm Joseph Burgoyne, Chef Tornade of the Omni Nashville Hotel. Come see us at Kitchen Notes.
Our Titan Stock Report is brought to you by the Mint Gaming Hall and all of its many amenities. Be sure to check out Spring Hill Suites, an Iron Steakhouse, a great hotel, and a great restaurant nearby the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, proud sponsors of the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Terry, you mentioned that Cedric Gray was impressive yesterday, as he has been for most of this season. Surprising for him to be kind of that standout linebacker in the room. I'd give him a continual stock up. But what you mentioned in that is that the defense didn't really help him around him at all. And one of the main culprits of that, again, Jalen Armour Davis, who was thrust into the cornerback one role because of L'Jarius Sneed's injury, got burnt by Michael Pittman time and again yesterday. This is an indictment on the Titans front office for getting rid of Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and handing the reins to that starting position to Jalen Armour Davis. Brownlee, don't know if you saw this, Terry, had the game-winning pass defense against the Bengals with the Jets yesterday. Jalen Armour Davis had a pass interference penalty, and Michael Pittman still caught a ball for a touchdown. I think that tells you everything you need to know about his play yesterday.
Yeah, he's really struggled. It's one of those things where he seems to be in position to make the play, but then he doesn't make the play. It seems like there are times where he's slow to break on the ball or to react while the ball is in the air, and I think that's the biggest problem. It looks like a lot of times he's in position to make a play, but he's just not making a play, and a lot of times the play is being made against him. So, I don't know what it's going to take to figure that out and fix that. Stocks down. I'm going to have to give a stock down to the entire defense, especially Cody Barton, who has struggled the last couple of weeks at the other inside linebacker position. In fact, you got other people wondering if they maybe should give James Williams a look in there as a youth, part of a youth movement. More stocks down. I'm going to have to give one to Mike McCoy because not only the conservative play calling that, he does, and the decision not to go for it there on the 4th and 3 at the 42, but he just kind of seems to, and seems like a nice enough guy, but he doesn't seem, I can't see many players wanting to run through a wall for him the way they would for, say, Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Is there, in your mind, had they named a different interim coach, had they gone with Denard Wilson, or had they gone with Bones Fossil in place of Mike McCoy, do you feel like there would have been an energy shift at all?
I think so. Either one of those guys. I mean, you can tell that Denard Wilson has passion in the way that he tries to coach his guys, and, all we really see, we see him briefly on the practice field. You get to see him in training camp. But all we really get to see once the season starts is how they conduct themselves in their press conferences and things like that. I think a guy like Bones Fossil would certainly have brought a positive vibe and a positive energy to things because he's that type of guy. When he addresses people, he emanates positivity, and that's something that's in short supply around St. Thomas Sports Park. I'm not, what's done is done, but I think I would have had to strongly consider Bones Fossil as the guy to pilot this ship for the remainder of the year.
Titans are looking for a spark as they go into their game against the Chargers, then the bye week, then the rest of this season, Terry. One of the few, maybe, I don't know, a small spark that you could find was Tajay Spears yesterday. Longest run of the season by the Titans, the 41-yarder in the first half. Really well blocked. Almost a touchdown, and then, of course, he had the touchdown on the other side in garbage time. You mentioned it. He has brought a little more juice than what Tony Pollard has in the running back room, and he stayed healthy, which was the biggest question about him through his first 2 years in the league.
Yeah, he's had issues with all kinds of things. The high ankle sprain this year, he's had concussion problems that he's had in the past, but certainly, yesterday kind of gave them a little bit of a jolt, when he had the ball in his hands, and this team badly needs things like that. Also got to give a stock up to Chim Dike, second week in a row that he's had a solid game, 93 yards on 7 receptions yesterday, far and away the top offensive performer among the skill position players, and that 93-yard effort second only to the 131 yards that Calvin Ridley had in Arizona. Also, I'll give a arrow pointed slightly up to Cam Ward. We talked about that earlier, how that his play was a little more even yesterday. Nothing really spectacular, but, a little more even in the fact that there weren't the wild inconsistencies that he's had for most of the season.
Ward finished 22 of 38 for 259 yards, had the touchdown, the end zone interception. He was sacked 4 times. Going back to DK briefly here, Terry, do you think the Titans coaches, even under Brian Callahan's regime, did they think that Chim Dike couldn't do both? Be a successful punt returner, kick returner, and a successful receiver? Because he's showing that he can do both of those things really well right now.
Yeah, I think some of it early was just that he was blocked by Tyler Lockett. And now that Tyler Lockett is out of the picture, he's getting a lot more opportunities as the slot receiver. So when you get Calvin Ridley back, that maybe gives you 2 solid options at wide receiver, guys who can make plays with the ball in their hands, plus Alec Eilmaner, who needs to be your possession receiver in that regard.
That'll do us for the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Be sure to stay tuned to Main Street Nashville and TitanInsider.com for all of the happenings for Tennessee this week, as well as Sunday's game against the Chargers. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the Mid Gaming Hall for sponsoring us. We'll see you.